Okay, so thank you very much for joining this session, session 3AB, for your feedback. Please remember to do that at the end of the session. This session is around IBM Z Workload Scheduler, the roadmap and strategy. It will be presented by Marco Cardelli, the product manager working at HCL Software. Please show your appreciation for the time given to put this together by donating to our charities. That's the RNLI and Guide Dogs for the Blind this year. So I will hand you over now to Marco to talk about his session.
Okay,
I hope
thank you.
you'll enjoy. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna, and good morning to everybody. This session will be around the roadmap and the strategy for IBM Z Workload Scheduler. So let me start with some introduction on what is the strategy on Z in general in this period. We can see that the trend, although there is an important trend to move many applications to cloud or to write new cloud native applications, there is still need to keep some of the applications that are running on premises, and in particular on the Z platform, where we know that there are many advantages for critical data and applications. So the future is still to be in a hybrid IT environment, so where there will be still legacy applications running on the mainframe, or even modern applications running on the mainframe, connected perhaps to other cloud native applications running in a public cloud. So this is an important statement. The mainframe is not going anywhere. I mean, it's not going away. We will keep working on it for a very long time. So what is the strategy applied to IBM Z Workload Scheduler? We need to allow our customers to connect our product to other external applications, to modernize some of the interfaces so that new people can access, new developers can work with it. And basically, this is one of the most important trends for the new, for the next years. Let's say we are also adding features to the product, general features on the core part of the product, but it is very important, the trend to modernize all the interfaces. And in particular, we are working with our web user interface, the dynamic workload console, REST APIs that makes life easier to, sorry, to your developers, DevOps scenarios in which you can add basically the workload definitions to the DevOps cycles that you have in your environment, containers, because you can use the fact that the distributed components of the IBM Workload Automation Suite are containerized, both to have an easier deployment of some components that are also used for the mainframe solution, or even run them on ZOS using the ZCX extension. Then Zoe is the open source framework running on the mainframe that allows an easy management of the Z applications in a cloud-like style, let's say. And also there we integrate with Zoe to allow our customers to invoke command online and interact with the scheduler. Moreover, and basically all these activities are already available for the product. Moreover, we are working on an integration for next release with the ZChatOps. It's the new IBM chatbot available for the environment that allows a cooperative approach with mainframe data. So that is also another part of modernization that we are adding to the product. So what is, in general, the value proposition of our product? We have this mantra called automate more, automate better. Basically, we consider our product a generic purpose orchestrator. We are not anymore talking just about batch scheduling. We can orchestrate also with event-driven workload automation. We can orchestrate basically many kinds of applications. We added recently the automation hub to the solutions that are available for IBM Workload Scheduler, and the automation hub is a marketplace of all our integrations. Most of them are available out of the box, basically all the ones that are developed by IBM and HCL, and allow you to define jobs to orchestrate applications without the need of writing scripts to orchestrate them, but just defining jobs in our interface, providing in an easy way the parameters that are necessary to manage those applications. We still have, as a very strong point, the fact that you have a single point of control for all your workloads with a web user interface and new dashboards that are available since 9.5. And this is very important with all the graphical views and so on, to keep control on all your workloads. If you are using, for example, a solution where you have both IZWS and IWS distributed, then you can also have a common dashboards, a common use of all your workloads. So the single point of control is a very strong advantage of our solution. The third part of functionalities are around the area of workload prediction, basically. So it's about prediction, service level support for service level agreements through the workload service assurance, the what-if facility to simulate actions on the plan and calculate the impact on your critical workloads. So all these are very important features of the product. And we are even adding, you will see within our next release, version 10, some new scenarios for operators powered by AI. The other strong point of our solution is that basically we can run anywhere. So on the mainframe, of course, we are talking about, in particular, about the mainframe solution here. But then we have agents that in an end-to-end solution can run basically everywhere, can be containerized and deployed on Kubernetes environment. So we are able to manage every kind of applications, from the legacy applications to the cloud native ones. I also would like to highlight that once again, we had the EMA analyst report, radar report, published recently in November, and actually in October. And once again, IBM Workload Automation is a value leader for these analysts. So we are certainly one of the best products on the market. A quick glance of some unique features that were developed in the most recent release, 9.5. Basically, some of these are for the distributed components, but what is available for these distributed components is also available for these components when used with a Z solution, with the Z engine. So basically, all distributed components are containerized. Workload console, the server on the distributed side, but also the agents are containerized and can be deployed on many different Kubernetes platforms. We have the automation hub to enable the orchestration of many different applications. We have new dashboards to monitor and customize easily your view for your operators. The new dashboards can be customized so that you include easily any data source and even external data source. So you can really make them your single point of control. In particular, when we're talking about the cloud journey, the fact that our distributed components are available on cloud platforms certainly allows you to deploy them. So even Z-centric agents, for example, for the Z engines, can be deployed in this environment. We do support the main cloud provider Kubernetes environment, so AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Clouds. Kubernetes platforms are all supported and certified for our distributed components. So you can use them both for the dynamic workload console in a containerized fashion and for the centric agents. Because the other strong point of our solution is that not only we can be deployed on cloud on our distributed components, but we can also manage very easily all cloud applications. And that can be done in many different ways, because you can deploy the agents, the distributed agents, on the same Kubernetes platform, on the same container where your application is running. And in that case, the agent will be dedicated to manage, to submit that application, basically. But you can also have a separate container for your agent and then remotely manage other containerized applications through either the REST API plugin that we have on the Automation Hub, the Kubernetes plugin that starts and stops containers on Kubernetes platforms. So you can use it to manage your containerized applications. And even many different cloud services, direct integrations for AWS, Google, Azure. We are providing an ecosystem of plugins that allow you to orchestrate cloud scenarios directly, either from a distributed or a mainframe engine. So in 9.5, we also delivered some important features for the core mainframe engine, in particular the possibility to perform analytics on logs, event logs generated by our product through an integration with a component that is called IBM Common Data Provider. So basically, this component enables the routing of all these logs to some analytics platforms important like Splunk or Elasticsearch. We did some work to allow an optimization of the submission of the workloads. So we provided global policies based either on criticality of your job definitions or even global parameters to influence the how fast we submit workloads on the system. So all this optimization part was done to avoid those queues that are often occurring when your batch window opens and you have to submit a lot of different jobs at the same time. There's a way to span them so that the most important are submitted first and the less important are submitted a little later. So spanning the execution, the submission of these workloads in a time window, still respecting all the deadlines. We added some core features like additional time specification, which is basically the possibility for you to define at operation level, at job level, a start time, a late time, let's say, a manual start time and a deadline, so that if the job doesn't start by the time that you provide, you can and even options. Then the same is if the job does not complete for the deadline you specify at job level. Moreover, all the improvements that we have done on the dynamic workload console and the decentric agents to be containerized, those, of course, as I already mentioned, are available for the mainframe solution, in particular in an end-to-end environment. The automation hub is a very important part of our strategy. We started a few, maybe a year and a half ago, with just some basic plugins that we already had in our solution, let's say around 40. Now that we just doubled them and we are continuing to deliver each quarter new integrations. So this is a very important part of our strategy because it helps our customers to manage more and more automation scenarios, all from our products, all from into the workload automation product. Since we are talking about plugins, integrations, I would like to remind to the Z customers how can they manage these plugins in an end-to-end solution. So what are the components that are needed to use all these new plugins? So basically, you need, besides, of course, having the IZWS controller, the Z engine, you need to have Z-centric agents because all these plugins are submitted through Z-centric agents, and the dynamic workload console installed because it's very easy to define these jobs from the dynamic workload console. There are dedicated panels on the UI, so that's the best way to define these jobs, that they're are saved in a definition that it is very similar to an HTML format. Is stored in the job libraries like any other JCL, but of course these are much easier to read from the dynamic workload console interface rather than editing them directly on the Z system. Optionally, you can also install a dynamic domain manager to, if you want, in this case, to have pools of agents rather than just single decentric agents directly connected to the controller. In this way, you can define pools of agents that communicate with the dynamic domain manager that on its turn is defined as a normal workstation, dynamic workstation on the Z controller. This is also a scenario that can help when you want to have your pools of agents running on the cloud, because you will probably have a firewall in the middle. And when you have a dynamic domain manager in your configuration, basically the agents communicate with the dynamic domain manager in a one-way communication. So it's easier when you have a firewall to have this kind of network configuration. Okay, After talking a little bit about our strategy on the product and what we have done in some of the main features we have done with 9.5, it's now the moment of talking the plans that we have for our next release and what are the main contents that we intend to deliver. So this new release is planned for first Q of next year. So currently the planned date, GA date, is beginning of March. Of course, these dates can change, but at this point we expect it to be delivered at the beginning of March. And of course, a few days before, you will receive the announcement letter. So there are three main areas of investment in this new release. One is related to adding some AI capabilities to enhance some operational scenarios. So basically, improve or allow our customers to manage anomaly detection for the workload execution. I will talk more details about it in a few minutes. So we are investing on AI to improve the operational experience of the product. The second very important topic is integrating your data pipelines in the automation workflows. So until now, we have been dealing with integrations with managed file transfer tools and trying to orchestrate them from our product, either using a file transfer plugin, which is based on FTP protocols, or using integrations with other tools like Sterling Connect, for example, which is an IBM tool quite popular for managing file transfer. Now we are adding an important new capability to the product. So the possibility to use the agents, the workload automation agents, to move the files directly without the need of an FTP protocol or another external tool. This is a very important feature that we are providing as a basic feature of the product, so it will be included in the standard license, no extra costs. And moving files between agents can be something that saves costs for you, because you can do that with workload automation and without the need of an external tool. In any way, we will also continue to integrate with other managed file transfer tool, because there are, of course, customers that have implemented in their environment these tools and are using them, and we want to allow them anyway to orchestrate those flows with our product. So there's a double strategy about data pipelines. You can start using our product to move directly the files in your environment, but you can also simply integrate your workflows with these operations, even if you use an external file transfer tool to execute the file movements. The third point, which is also quite important, is the possibility that we are doing to actually the redesign that we are doing of the modeling part on the web user interface. There are in the current dynamic workflow console some inconsistencies on how the objects, the database objects, can be defined. It's not always easy to use, and we are so completely reworking that part to allow you with a single UI to develop completely your workflows and have an easier, intuitive design for your business applications. So we will have a contextual help that will really make a faster onboarding with the new UI, the new modeling part, and the new workload designer. Also, we expect probably with the first fix packet to integrate some important functionalities in this new workload designer, and I will talk about that also in a few minutes. So let me explain a little bit what is our strategy with AI and machine learning and our product. First of all, we don't have any intention to have to become an AI ops tool. That functionality, there are appropriate tools to do that job. But we think that using AI and machine learning to improve some operational scenario with the product, using workload data that probably are not available to AI ops tool, can be important to improve the operational experience. We have already now some capabilities based on machine learning for SLA management prediction, and we have some advanced analytics part with dashboards and other tools, other views to manage and create reports. But what we envision for future releases is, first of all, to take care of anomaly detection, and that is something that we are planning for version 10, our next release. Noise reduction, which means the possibility to reduce the false alarms and prioritize the issue that you get with the workload execution using historical data and patterns and clustering on this historical data. Moreover, another step will be to use AI to perform root cause analysis on job issues, for example, and based on historical data, suggest recovery actions that then can be confirmed by the operators. Also, last scenario that we see as important for using AI with our product is to use AI to improve the user definitions. So suggest fields when you define jobs, define job streams, propose best practices, and even product features based on what you are actually trying to define in our product. But for the next release, let's say, so the first part we are going to introduce into product is related to anomaly detection. Let's take a look at this part. So it is very common that you have a dashboard with the numbers of the workload execution. So how many jobs are in ready status, how many jobs are executing, how many jobs are in error, and so on. And you wonder if these numbers are normal or if you should be worried about anything. So this is the kind of scenario we want to address with version 10. Basically, we are introducing a new component called AI Data Advisor that will help you to perform this anomaly detection and analysis of historical data. This component will be available on container, so you can deploy it in any distributed environment and connect it to your historical data. So it's an AI augmented automation solution that uses big data, machine learning, and analytics to allow the detection of potential issues. So anomaly detection and alerting is one of the capabilities provided. And the other one is analysis of historical data on a UI, on a dedicated UI for jobs and workstations. So basically, what is the pain point of this kind of operational scenario? Basically, to understand if the plan is executing as expected, if what you see is normal, you normally need those people that are called power operators. So the people that have a strong experience, a deep experience on the products, and know, how to identify anomalies and issues. What we would like this to become as a scenario is that even normal operators can become power operators by using the alerts and the features provided by alerts and data analysis based on historical data from our new component. So basically, we want to improve the operational experience of your operators. So the primary scenarios will be the anomaly detection and to alert if there is something that is going different from normal, because we can, based on historical data, we can compare the current situation of your workload with the historical data, basically, and give you some warning, some alerts on what is going on if it's going different from usual. These anomaly detection scenarios will be available in two different shapes, either on the general workload overall, so on the execution overall of the workload, or you can also customize it to have an anomaly detection on individual jobs. So how this works is that basically workload automation data are published through open metrics and open standard, and this AI data advisor component with this data predicts trend and detects anomaly. Of course, every certain number of minutes, so that probably is customizable. You can, these components reads the new data and performs the analysis. The UI, the dynamic workflow console, shows the alerts. And you can launch in context the AI data advisor user interface to perform an analysis of the historical data. So this is the first, let's say, scenario we are going to address in with AI on workload automation operation. Hopefully, you will like it, and we will need a lot of feedback from customers, to make it work as effective as possible. This is a first attempt in this area. Let's talk about a little more in detail about the optimization of the data transfer. In particular, we're going to add the agent-to-agent file transfer. The view that you see here on the slide is already available for the file transfer plugin, the one that is based on FTP protocols. So you can see that there are lots of detailed information on the file transfers and lots of new capabilities that have been added to the file transfer plugin. The same capabilities will be available also for the agent-to-agent file transfer. And also we are working to integrate with other managed file transfer tools. We are already integrated with Sterling Connect Direct, We have in our radar to integrate with Axway, which is another managed file transfer popular tool. And we'll have more coming in the next months. Of course, we are also integrated with cloud big data services. Let me describe a little bit how the managed file transfer executed through the agent-to-agent protocol will work. So basically, we have a new component called file proxy. It's a new component that manages the transfer of the files in security. So also this component will be available on container. So you can deploy it on any standard platform for containers, and possibly also even on the OS. As you know, and I have a presentation tomorrow for this topic, with the ZCX extension, even on the OS, it's possible to execute containers, to deploy containers. So it's installed as a standalone component and supports the new agent-to-agent protocol, manages the transfer with a correct level of security. In just of the if you are using this with a distributed engine, it's also possible to have a file proxy, let's say, internal to the workload automation server. But in the case of a Z engine, you will have only the external file proxy available. And it does support high availability, so you can configure multiple file proxies with one taking over on the other if there is an issue on the active one. Probably you need a load balancer to perform a high availability. In this picture, I show you basically what are the configuration of the file proxy in an end-to-end environment with a Z engine. You have the IZWS controller, you have the file proxy in the middle, and you can connect to the same file proxy multiple Z-centric agents. So basically what will happen is that when the file transfer job submitted by the controller will arrive to its target Z-centric agent, the Z-centric agent, if it is a file transfer agent to agent, will contact the file proxy so that the file transfer will be executed directly between the two agents. So no data is going through directly through the controller. So there is no overhead on the engine part. Everything happens directly with threads on between the agents and the file proxy. So with the managed file transfer implemented in our product with the plugins or the new agent-to-agent protocol, you get also a dedicated dashboard for the managed file transfer jobs. So you will have a dashboard only for the file transfer jobs. So it's a filtered dashboard for this kind of jobs, where you can see how the file transfers are doing, what are the numbers of your file transfer in success, canceled, held, and so on. And of course, you can then deep dive on a single widgets and get detailed information. The agent-to-agent protocol will support the possibility to manage multiple file transfer in parallel which means that you can have in the same job, you can define multiple file transfer, and they will be actually executed in parallel through a multi-thread architecture. So it's not that you define in a job a number of file transfer and then they are executed just one after the other. They can be executed at the same time. If any of these file transfer fails, you can rerun it from the point of failure, so you don't need to restart from scratch the file transfer. You can also decide that any of these file transfer that are in the same job needs to be re-executed. So select one and retransfer just that file. You can use, there are a few actions that are available after the file transfer is executed. So you can rename the files after the transfer. You can use wildcards and regular expressions to rename the files after the file transfer. And don't forget that you can also transfer files to and from these systems. Let me also tell you that if you don't want to install for this purpose an agent on a distributed system, you can use the containerized version of the Z-centric agent and install it on the OS with the ZCX extension. That's another possibility. I mean, the distributed components that are containerized and can be installed on the OS are actually all of them. But for a mainframe customer, obviously, it doesn't really make sense to install the workload automation server on the OS, the distributed server on the OS. But it makes sense to install either the dynamic workload console or even a Z-centric agent to perform the file transfer without the need of using a distributed machine. Of course, you can also install these components on a Z Linux system on the mainframe. Okay, let's talk about the last part of the last topic of the new release, which is the new workload designer. So you will get a unified access point to design all your workload automation objects. So basically, there were objects that had a different view in 9.5, and we are providing a unified approach to all the objects. There's an improved search functionality. The way the objects are listed is based on a hierarchical views of the folders or plain listing card and card views. The current graphical views will be integrated into the new workload designer, and there will be improved capability to navigate and edit the properties. You can also edit multiple objects at the same time. And the workload application template import export capabilities will be integrated into the workload designer. There will be a new landing page for the workload designer based on the way you have defined your objects in your workloads in the database. And the new technology will also improve the way we create jobs for the plugins. So basically, this new technology that we will use for the new Workload Designer will also improve the way you define plugin jobs for the product. And then something that is not currently planned for the GA date, but it may be part of the base contents, like extended contents for the release, or if not, we will deliver it with the first fix pack. So first of all, a new adaptive welcome page. So the possibility to customize your welcome page so that there is one different for each user or role that is defined for your dynamic workload console. So you can have a welcome page with a specific target for specific users. The other important part that will be added to the new Workload Designer is the integration of the self-service catalog interface to the new Workload Designer. Now, I don't know if you are using or know about this capability, but this is a very interesting functionality that allows to have a kind of business interface for submitting workloads. Basically, there's a different concept here. There's a service that can be defined by the administrator that is exposed with a name and parameters that can be specified. So the business users see only a service that they need to submit and perhaps some parameters they need to specify. They can submit this service and monitor its execution, but they don't know the details of what's going on behind this external interface. So basically, each service is tied to a job stream that is added dynamically to the plan. So it's a way to provide a simpler and more business-oriented interface to execute dynamically workload on the product. And this interface is also available on mobile devices. So it is particularly targeted for business users. So this is called self-service catalog. It has been there for a while as a base product functionality, but it's going to be integrated in the new Workload Designer. Now let's recap the roadmap of the product with some dates. So as you can see, we are in 2021. We delivered in the second quarter a fix pack with some enhancements, especially for the user interface and some distributed features. And we are continuously also delivering new integrations on the Automation Hub. As you can see, we have plenty of them delivered and in plan for the next quarters. There will be in the fourth quarter, so in December, a new fix pack for the distributed solution. And also we are running we just started a beta program for version 10. So if you are interested to the new features, you may want to consider participating to the beta program. In particular, we are making available the early access program for the managed file transfer new capabilities. In the first quarter, planned right now, the beginning of March, we will have the new version 10.1, so the new release with the managed file transfer new capabilities, the new Workload Designer, the new component to use AI to empower your automation operations, some integrations. These are more for the distributed components of observability. but also some integrations for the mainframe side with Z ChatOps. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is a new chatbot available for the Z environment that will be given to all customers using IZWS with the automation suite. So this will be a very interesting new scenario available, because main alerts, all that is currently available through messages, will be also available through the Z ChatOps interface. And this will allow a cooperative approach for operators working with the product, because they can share information, they can share alerts, and they can even use the chat to perform a launching context of the dynamic workload console to go into details of some scenarios. Then we envision for 2022 another delivery in the third quarter. It will be a fixed pack for distributed and a small program enhancement, which means through PTF for the Z part. So it will be, of course, based on version 10, and we are considering a number of new features for this fixed pack. Some more scenarios on AI, some more integrations for the DevOps of our definitions, the self-service catalog integration into the Workload Designer that I mentioned before, and other specific capabilities also for the mainframe part that will be announced later on in the next months. So with this, I think the session on the roadmap is complete. Now I would like to see if there are any questions. Open up to possible questions.
Okay, so there were no questions that came in the chat. I will find the right button and I can, oh, there it is. So you may now unmute yourself if you have some questions for Marco.
Hi, Marco. This is Ian. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello, Ian.
Yeah. I just wanted to thank you for the presentation. It's quite interesting features there. There was something I might have expected that you haven't actually done for version 10, and that is any change to the sort of the databases that you've got. And is the plan still using vSAM files? So pretty much as we've come to expect over the years.
Yes, we have not changed that. We are not changing that. We still believe that using vSAM files is good for product performances. So we are not planning right now to move to a relational database for that. Of course, this is something that we can consider in the future if there's a specific requirement about it, if we see that there is a lot of interest. But we are more working on enhancements on the interfaces, on the APIs, on the access to the product, rather than changing the infrastructure.
Okay, I understand. So an upgrade from a prior release should be fairly standard thing for anyone who's seen those before.
Yes. There is no disruption. The infrastructure is basically the same. The only difference, well, this is already true with 9.5, but if you're using dynamic workload console or Z-centric agents, you of course can leverage the possibility to use the containerized version of them. And that is true also for some extra components like the AI data advisor or the file proxy for the managed file transfer. So those are components that will run in a distributed environment or on the mainframe, but with ZCX, let's say.
Thank you, Marco. That's really excellent news. I'm sure the clients will be happy to hear that.
Thank you for your question.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, we can close the call. If you'd like to leave, thank you very much. The round of applause there.
Thank you all. Goodbye.